Mike Pillow has another prediction, which means it's time for Pillow Talk.
God gave me this platform. I already know I'm going to win.
China did our vote. Biden and Harris would say, hey, we're here to protect the country, and resign.
Mike Lindell's a conspiracy.
But you haven't.
Just forget about the evidence. This was attacked.
All right. MyPillow CEO Mike Lindell. You might have noticed that he's making a lot of predictions. I mean, he's been making a lot of predictions for some time about voter fraud, mass voter fraud in all 50 states, every single place. Lots and lots of fraud, even in the states that Donald Trump had won. Interesting. So now he's also been saying that, don't worry, by Thanksgiving, Donald Trump will be reinstated. Even though, of course, there's no constitutional way to do that. And so some of his latest predictions are like, actually, no, not by Thanksgiving. We're going to present it by Thanksgiving. In fact, here's what he said recently on a podcast about that whole thing. Take a look.
This is different now than before. That when we get there, we're launching it 2 days before Thanksgiving. You know why? So that the whole world's going to be watching. Now, are they going to accept it that day? No. But guess who's going to talk about it for 4 days over Thanksgiving? Every person in the world, not our country. Everybody's watching for this. Those 9 Supreme Court justices, they're going to sit back and go, are we going to accept this? They're there to protect our country. They've lived the American dream. They see it was attacked by a foreign country. They're going to say, bring it on in, 9-0 to look at
it. Everybody in the world. Everybody's going to be looking at it. And not just in the United States. No. Kim Jong-un. He's going to tune in. He's tuning in. Unbelievable. You also, what are you going to have the Queen? Queen's going to tune in, of course. She's going to want to watch Mike Pillow. She's 95 years old. Definitely going to tune in. Who wouldn't want to watch this? Come on. We're gonna watch the Supreme Court. So say, oh yeah, well, bring him in. Yeah, bring in the evidence. What evidence? There is none. This is insane. Delusional. Absolutely delusional. Look, it's actually important to note that the Supreme Court already looked at voter fraud cases. Donald Trump had sued and tried to bring this to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court said, sorry, but you don't have any standing. You just don't. And you also need to prove that there are damages against you or injury. And of course, there are other cases where Trump supporters have sued states and have been blocked as well. Because again, you don't have standing, you can't prove injury, you don't have a case. And you also have to have evidence to prove that what you're saying is true. They don't have any of that. None. Nothing that we have seen from Mike Pillow, even through his little cyber symposium back in August, suggests that he hasn't even a shred of evidence. Just nothing. And again, you go recount after recount, audit after audit. Even the company that was paid specifically to find something fraud in Arizona, the Cyber Ninjas, they failed to find any fraud. And now MAGA is really mad at them for failing to manufacture the evidence that they needed, in order to try to prove their insane conspiracies. In fact, they even found more votes for Biden. Great expense to the taxpayer. So this is a problem, okay? And by the way, speaking of expenses, these audits do cost money. The money doesn't come out of nowhere. And so they've been spending all this money and spending all this time. And here we are, we're at the end of October. And he's still talking about, oh, we're going to bring it into Thanksgiving. And that's what, and then the Supreme Court is going to do a 9-0 to let us look at it. No, they're not. No, they're going to get laughed out of court. That's what's going to happen. Time to let it go. Guys, Trump supporters, MAGA, you're obsessed. Let it go. And that, by the way, that obsession is unsustainable. So there's a couple of ways that this is going to continue, that this entire voter fraud line. And by the way, I've talked about how, there's polling and stuff that suggests that a lot of Trump supporters now hold the idea that Donald Trump had the election stolen from him as part of their personal identity of being a conservative. Okay, so they say, we're conservative. Part of being a conservative means believing in the big lie. It's part of their identity now. No matter how much facts and evidence that you show them that runs counter to their narrative, they are never, ever, ever going to believe it. Ever. And so there's a couple of ways that this is going to continue. For one, Republicans are going to continue to audit and question every election that they lose till the end of time. Except for when they win. If they win, everything's fine, above board. Totally fair. But if they lose, nope, 100%, they're going to be like, voter fraud. It was voter fraud. Had to have been voter fraud. They cheated. We're going to have to spend a ton of money on doing audits and recounts, etc. And by the way, while they're doing that and distracting everybody, the Republican politicians that are already in power in the states are going to continue to do more and more voter suppression. And so that's pretty much the real danger, right? Now, the second thing that may happen and might already be happening is that, and this would be ironic, Republican voters will just be like, well, no, I guess I'm not going to vote. I mean, why vote if it's rigged? If it's all rigged and it's all going to be stolen anyway, then why am I going to vote? Now, you would think, okay, good, right? Now, the problem with that is they're going to end up, instead of voting, resorting to more extreme measures. And that's where you have the talk of potential violence and intimidation and things like that. And so that's the problem, okay? And by the way, Donald Trump is leading that effort to get people to not vote. In fact, earlier this month, he put out a statement saying this, quote, "If we don't solve the presidential election fraud of 2020, which we have thoroughly and conclusively documented," really? Where? We haven't seen it. Where is it? It's nothing. It's nothing. Laughed out of court every single time. But he says Republicans will not be voting in 22 or in 24. It is the single most important thing for Republicans to do. Okay, so great. That's what he says. Just don't vote. Now, Marjorie Taylor Greene, I showed you the video where she's like, no, don't do that. Vote, please, for God's sakes, vote. Everybody come vote, as long as it keeps me in power. So there's a contradictory thing. And by the way, she talked about a poll, I think it was 4% of Georgia voters said, we're not going to vote in the upcoming midterms. And of course, we already saw what happened when Georgians didn't vote after, in the special elections, right? After the main election, after the general election, I should say. You had ended up, with two Democrats that won in Georgia in these hotly contested races. And so that's what gave Democrats control of Congress. And so, not that they've done much with it, but or been able to, but still, they don't want the repeat of that to happen. They want to retake the House, they want to retake the Senate, and in 24, they want to, of course, retake the White House from Joe Biden. And they might have a chance if they actually can get it together. And I'm not saying that is a good thing. I'm saying that is a warning. That means, of course, Democrats also got to get it together. All right. So, but that said, Biden, let me just say something about Biden. Disappointing. And the Democrats do have a lot of problems. And I'm not going to shy away from talking about that. They do have a lot of problems. They can't get anything done. But at the same time, we do have to note that there is at least one big distinct difference between the parties. Right now, the Democrats are not attempting to destroy democracy like Republicans are. And I'm not kidding. I'm not being hyperbolic. If you look at all the actions that the Republicans have been taking at the state levels, especially in order to do voter suppression, as well as gerrymandering, yeah, that is a way to crush democracy, to end democracy, so that they can, of course, win, because they don't see any other legitimate ways of winning. And so, of course, they have to project, right? And understand that this is what this effort's about. It's end democracy while by using the lie of massive voter fraud that doesn't exist. Now, of course, MyPillow, he's a clown. Everybody knows he's a clown. Nothing that he says is going to be taken seriously. And by the way, not only is he a clown, but he's also a grifter. He's also had his brain melted, long ago by with the help of the family. I don't know if you've heard of the family, but they are, I know it sounds like a mob, but no, they're a shady conservative group that was actually behind the National Prayer Breakfast that Democrats would go to. So they held a lot of power, a lot of money, have a lot of connections, and so MyPillow was just one of the latest people that was sucked in. And of course, he's not a smart person to begin with, so he easily fell for the lies and started doing everything that the family and these donors, or I should say this group, wanted him to do, including give them millions of dollars. And so the real danger, though, here is the actual organized efforts by politicians in power to not only, of course, make sure that they roll back voting rights and ensure that people that, vote for Democrats are not able to vote, but they also, if Democrats happen to be in power in certain places or get into power in certain places, to make sure to take power away from those positions. And so to kind of like defang their ability to do things. And so, yeah, it is something that is very, very concerning, their efforts to end democracy. And MyPillow, clowns like him aside, there is some real danger here. And we have to continue to fight against that voter suppression. And it would be nice if we actually got rid of the filibuster and passed some voting reforms. Oh, wait, can't do that because of Joe Manchin. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like and share with your friends. You can subscribe and help out the channel by becoming a patron. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf, or you can become a channel member as well by hitting the join button below.